Hello internet people, and welcome to another edition of the Broken Box Gamer. Today I'll be talking about a title I stumbled upon quite by chance. I was just browsing my local gaming store, Boss Miniatures, and and yeah, I came across it and thought, you know what, I'm missing a board game or two. I tried the ones I've got. Let's try something new. Turns out it's quite simple. It's quite an easy game. Although it's competitive, it's strangely chilled out. I can't quite figure out why, but yeah. This is oh, mind the tea. This is Gates of Delirium. It's ages 14 plus, though. Apart from the horror front, I can't quite wrap my head around why. But it is what it is. It's for 2 to 4 players. Plays in about 45 minutes, give or take the player count, of course. And yeah. Like I say, it's a strangely chilled out game. I enjoy playing this one. It's very simple, very easy to learn. I think it can teach this one to anyone, so this might be a short video, or not. I might find some things are more complex to teach than they are to learn. That strangely works out somehow. It probably sounded better in my head. Anyway, this is Gates of Delirium. Double-sided. Sanity disc. Scroll cards. Action cards, monstrosity discs, player journals, gate cards, desperation tokens, score markers, investigators, game map. So the first thing you do when setting up Gates of Delirium is to decide which side of the map you're playing on. This is dependent on the player count. In our case, we're going to try a game of 3+ players, just for the explanation. Next, shuffle the action cards to form a face-down deck. Place them next to the game board. Just like that. Next, shuffle the gate cards to form a face-down deck. Once again, placing them next to the board. Next, create the gate supply by revealing the top 4 cards from the gate card deck. Something like this. Next, take 3 scroll cards and place them face down in the slots provided at the top of the board. So we'll just take, I don't know, these random 3. Nice. Take the desperation tokens and place them at the side of the board within easy reach of all players. Like so. Then give each player a journal, 1 per player, a matching score marker, and 10 investigators. Also, place the score tokens next to the board. With all the setup steps complete, give the first player the sanity disc. Place each player's score marker just above the score tracker. Deal 5 action cards to each player. This is the player's starting hand and should be kept hidden from all the other players. So the object of the game in Gates of Delirium is to have your score marker move up the score tracker through various means. At the end of the game, whoever has the highest score wins. Simple premise, but how does it work? Let's find out. Most of the ways to collect points in Gates of Delirium are listed on the player's journal. These could be either collecting ancient runes. The more you have, the more points they're worth. Collecting lost pages. Each page is worth 2 points. Each consecutive page, as they are numbered, is worth 4 points. Finally, you have map fragments. Each fragment is worth 2 points. Each complete set worth 12 points. We'll have a look at those in further detail in a short while. Another way to collect points is to build a gate. You do this on an insane round, using one of the insane actions on the action cards. The number of gate pieces required to build the gate is listed at the top left. The bigger the gate, the more cards it requires to build, the more points you get from that gate's region once the gate has been built. After laying the last card on the gate, a monstrosity comes through and you immediately get the points from that monstrosity. In this case, you also reveal a scroll card. Scroll cards change the rules of the game slightly, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. You never quite know what you're going to get. And a final way to earn points is to have more investigators in a region when a gate has been built. The amount of points you get is listed on the region. So the player with the most investigators gets 9 points. The player with the second most investigators gets 6. And the player with the least investigators in that region only gets 4 points. You can also use collected desperation tokens to gain extra points, along with a few extra abilities. More on those in a bit. Once the type of round has been decided, on their turn, players can play 2 action cards performing the type of action dependent on which round is chosen. In this case, it's the Sane round, so let's have a look at the Sane actions. So as you can see, the action cards are divided into 2 halves, the light side and the dark side. The side you use is dependent entirely on which type of round you're doing. As stated, in this case we're doing the Sane round, so we'll only focus on the top part of the cards. These first 2 cards both allow you to place a certain number of investigators onto the map, in any region you choose. On this card, it's place 1 investigator. On this one, it's 2. When playing a map action, simply place that card onto your journal. The same goes for the lost pages. The only other symbol on the card to take note of are these little red ones. These mean take that many number of desperation tokens once that card has been played. Any collected map fragments can be stored on your journal, like this. Once a full map is collected, it looks like this and is worth 12 points. Although it doesn't state to do it in the manual, the players that I play with tend to take a completed map and just stick it off to the side. So when it comes to the end of the game, they can collect their 12 points. In a similar way to the map fragments, you can store lost pages on your journal, like so. As mentioned, if you're lucky enough to collect consecutive pages in numerical order, then each page will be worth 4 points instead of just 2. Well, that's the Sane round covered. Let's look at the Insane round. So the Insane round is where things get a little bit more competitive, though not in a major way. The first 2 cards are similar to sending out investigators, only you're collecting gate pieces instead. You collect these from the selection of gate pieces we put out at the beginning of the game, making sure to replace it once collected. The next card is Ancient Runes. You collect these in the same way you do the ancient pages or the map. The more you collect, the more points they're worth. The final card is Converting Investigators. This is where a little bit of the competitive side comes in. You simply take any investigator on the board and replace it with one of your own. Any collected desperation tokens can be spent on your turn. You can spend 2 to swap 2 of your action cards for new ones. You can spend 3 to refresh the gate supply, replacing all the gates on the side of the board with new ones from the deck. For 4 desperation tokens, you can flip the sanity disc. You can even do this halfway through your turn, meaning you could play 1 action card as a Sane card and the second action card as an Insane card. Finally, for 5 desperation tokens, you can simply score 3 points. The only other thing to talk about are the scroll cards. These have a total of 7 different effects. These are Builder's Mandate. Each time you collect a lost page, you may build 1 gate section. Prolific Recruiter. At game end, the player with the most investigators on the map will score an extra 5 points. Cartographer's Command. Each time you collect a map fragment, you may build 1 gate section. Relic's Call. Each time you collect an ancient rune, you may dispatch 1 investigator. Desperate Times. Each time you take a desperate action, spend 1 less desperation token. The Tome Keeper. At game end, the player with the most lost pages scores 5 points. And finally, Gatecrafter. At game end, the player with the most incomplete gates scores 5 points. And that's pretty much the game. You spend each round deciding whether or not you're going to play it insane or insane, collecting map fragments, collecting lost pages, ancient runes, placing investigators on the board, converting other investigators, and building gates, releasing monstrosities into the world. When the final monstrosity is released, the game is over, and it's time to tally up those points. And that's Gates of Delirium. And that's Gates of Delirium from Renegade Games. What a fantastic game this is. It's really chilled out. I still don't quite understand why. It's a little bit competitive, but not to the point of people throwing things across the room or storming off. There's no real length of downtime between turns. It goes past super fast. The only thing is I will take back my comment that I said about not understanding why the game would have the 14 plus age rating. I mean, some of the artwork in this, it's fantastic, but it certainly isn't suitable for our younger players. But yeah, there you go. Gates of Delirium. I hope you got a rough idea of how to play that one. Watch this space and I'll be back soon with another one. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what I do, or leave a comment down below. Apart from that, take care. Have a good one. Yeah, I came across it. And that's Gates of Delirium from Renegade Games.